Next, let us look at privatization. In the 1990s, there were around 250 CPSEs or Central Public Sector Enterprises. These were companies where the government held more than 51% of the share capital. Therefore, the government controlled these companies. You can also call them PSUs or public sector units. Of these 250 odd CPSEs, almost 45% were already loss making in 1991. And many of the profitable CPSEs were also profitable only because they had a monopoly and there was a complete lack of competition. For example, HMT was making watches and it was a profitable PSU. But they were profitable only because the private sector was severely restricted by the license quota permit system. Once the private sector was allowed to enter the market and Titan watches entered the market, HMT quickly lost market share and it became a loss-making company. And many unprofitable CPSEs were being kept afloat by the governments for political reasons. For example, by around 2019, the government was funding Air India at the rate of around 20 crores per day to keep it operational. Without the government support, Air India would have stopped operating many years ago. As a part of the 1991 reforms, the government liberalized the industrial sector by allowing private players to enter almost all types of industries without mandatory licensing. The government also started exiting the CPSEs. The basic idea should be that the government's job is to govern and not to do business. Here, the government started following three main types of approaches. The large and profitable CPSEs were classified as Navaratna, Maharatna and Mini Ratna companies, and they were given more autonomy or more independence, whereby they would still remain as public sector companies, but the government would not interfere in the normal operations. Professional managers would manage these companies. Indian Oil is a good example, which is still a PSU, but it is managed by a professional management team. Other CPSEs were completely sold off to the private sector, like Air India, which was sold off to the Tata Group. And loss-making and sick companies, which could not just be sold off and which were not a viable business anymore, were referred for insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings, like HMT, where most of the unviable businesses were separated and shut down. As of today, privatization is still going on, but the speed of privatization keeps changing, mainly due to political reasons.